or something constant here. You can only put a so here if we take k is having an exact value in this case. Okay, so if we put k here, in that case k is having some change in value, right? That's why it is becoming the variable of the limit, right? How to put k or theta graphically? So normally, so if we take here, this is the independent variable. So if we take this one, uh, this is the independent variable, right? This is independent variable. Right? So this is the dependent variable, which is, so this is dependent variable. Right? So this is the independent variable and this is the dependent variable. Right? So sorry, spelling mistake. Okay. So independent variable we are usually writing denoting independent variable using x axis, right? To denote dependent variable, we usually use y axis. Right? So this y-axis, this x-axis and this x are totally different. Right? These are two different things. But here, if we draw this in a graph, here this y, so we are displaying this as y, and we are displaying y equal 5. Okay, y equal 5. So normally it has only one value, right? Because y is equal to 5, right? So here we are denoting this axis as x, right? So here the x is that means, so this x is denoted here, right? But this is the x-axis, capital X-axis, right? So if we apply the same thing to this one, what happens? So here y equal 5. So usually this has a constant value, right? 5. Okay. So here we have k. K is the variable. But this is the x-axis, which is capital X. Right? This is x-axis. So, Kevin, are you clear now? Have I answered your question? Do you have any doubts? Kevin? කෙවින් කියන්න පුළුවන් තව මොනවා හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවද කියලා දැන්ට B එකේ තියෙන එතකොට y axis නේද B එකේ තියෙන්නේ y axis no here what happens is so if we take this B this is the independent variable y is the independent variable and 67 is the dependent variable okay so if we represent it in a graph, what happens is here we have to write here y and here 67. Can you understand? This is the independent variable. Kevin, do you have any question?
හරි මං හිතුවේ මේ ඔය y එකේ නේන يعني y එකවෙන් පස්සේ අර x axis y axis මාරු වෙනවා කියලා.
නෑ මාරු වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
හැමතිස්සෙම x කියන්නේ නියතයක් නේ. එතකොට ඕන එකක් එන්න පුළුවන්. හරියට. දැන් තේරුණා.
x කියන්නේ නියතයක් නෙමෙයි. x කියන්නේ variable.
නෑ එහෙම නෙමෙයි මං කියන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ x කියන එක හැමතිස්සෙම උතන්ට x නේ ඉන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔයකට x axis එකට උනේ. අපි උකට එකක් මොකක් හරි දැම්මෙත් එතනට එන්නේ x axis එකට.
එහෙම හරි ඔව් හරි ඔයාලට තේරුණා
හරි
so in part A x equal to 0 or x equal to 5 x is not equal to 5 or x is not equal to 0 here in part A x is a variable right it doesn't have any constant value any exact value it is changing all the time okay so x doesn't we can't say x is equal to 0 or x is equal to 5 Hosan who's this Hosan can you Hosan clear okay so thank you for asking these questions because I don't have the idea whether you can understand or not because since you haven't got a proper education about mathematics I know there are a lot of some fundamental basic mathematics things are lagging in your knowledge so please ask the questions because I don't have the understanding whether you have that knowledge or not okay thank you for asking the questions Kevin and Hosan then limit so I'll go into the second law okay so here limit of a variable so limit of the variable of the limit that means so here x is the variable of the limit right x is the variable of the limit right so if you have this x this the same thing in front of your limit So in that case, what happens is the approaching value of the variable is the answer. So x approaches to a, so the answer of the limit of x should be a, right? So here limit of a, we have to find limit of x when x approaches to a, right? So here, since x is approaching to a and you have to find the limit of x, so the answer should be the approaching value, which is a, right? So likewise, try to find the answers for these questions. This part A, B, C, D, like that. So here, what happens is, very good person. Some things are somewhat, but the part A is correct. Okay. So other things have some conflicts, some doubts. Okay. Yeah, Gayanta, it is correct. Yeah, Pubudo, it is correct. Herat, it is correct. So I am going to explain this. Okay. So x is, so here x approaches b and you have to find the limit of x. So when you have to find the limit of x, which is the variable of the limit, which is mentioned in here, the answer is the approaching value, which is b, right? So here the answer is b, right? So here what happens? Here y as x approaches b, but you don't have to find any. So here does y contain any variable of x? X is the limit variable of the limit. So this variable of the limit doesn't contain in this y, right? So variable of the limit, which is x, is not contained in y, right? X is not included in y, right? So what happens is, this y is becoming a constant. So here y doesn't include x. So this one, x is not there. X is not there. So so y is a constant. So what is the answer for B? Now you have to apply the law which we have discussed in the first part. So the answer should be y, because y is the constant, right? So here the answer should be y. Okay. Then here y is there in here, right? Y is embedded in this function, right? So y approaches to a. So if we need to find the limit of variable, which is the variable of the limit, and the variable of the limit approaches to a value, the answer should be the approaching value, which is a, right? Then here x is, so x is in this function, right? So this is not a constant. This is a variable. Right? So x approaches to c. So when we apply this second rule, which is limit of x when x approaches to a, the answer is a. Right? So here instead of a we have c. So the answer should be c, approaching value which is c. So here what happens? Limit of y, and the variable of the limit is y. So we can apply this rule, right? You have to find the limit of y, and y is the variable of the limit. So you can apply this rule, right? So y approaches k, right? Y approaches k. So in this kind of a thing, this kind of so when you have to find the limit of x, when the variable of the limit is x, the answer is the approaching value. So same thing applies here. You have to find the limit of y, and the variable of the limit is y, and y approaches to k. So the answer is the approaching value, which is k. Right? So let's move on to the third one. If you have any question, please type it in the chat. Okay. So here constant is there in front of the function, right? In front of a function, constant is there. So in that case, when you need to find the limit of the whole thing, what you have to do is you have to take this constant outside the limit. That's what we have done here. We have took the constant outside the limit. If the function is, there is a multiplication in between the constant and the function, in that case you can take the constant outside the limit. If here, if you have multiplication sign, only you can take this constant outside. Okay. If you have multiplication sign in between c and the constant and the function, only you can take this constant outside the limit. Okay. So here, what is the function? So if we take this is the function, so this is the function in part A, right? Then what is the constant? So this is the constant in the low. So this is the constant in here. So here in between this, the constant and the function, there is the multiplication sign. So in that case, what you can do, you can take this 2 outside. Okay. So the answer should be here. You can take the 2 outside, right? So likewise, what is the answer for this one? So here, how to find whether the function is fx? So can you see here? I think you can see x is here and x is also here, right? So how to conclude this fx and the function in front of the limit is a function of the variable of limit. You have to see whether x is embedded in the function in front of the limit, right? So this is the function in front of the limit. So the variable of the limit is embedded in this function, right? So the function in front of the limit is this one, right? So how to find whether the function is a function of the limits variable? So in that case, what you have to look for is you have to see whether the limits variable is exist in the function. So in that case, this is becoming a function of the limit of the limits variable, right? Function of the limits variable. So you can apply this theory only if you have function of the limits variable here, right? And a constant is in and that particular function should be multiplied by a constant, right? So this function should be a function of the variable of uh, limits variable. This function should be the function of the limits variable, which is x here, right? And this function should be multiplied by a constant. So in that case only you can apply this particular rule, right? So try to find the answer for B, C, D, and E. Try to find the answer. Just roughly write the answer. Type the answer in chat. And if you have any question, please ask me. So the answers you are posting for part B is not correct. Is uh, Udayagoda and Tushani is correct. Other people are yeah, Hosan has taken it correct. Okay. So here, can you see in this function? Can you see? So here in the part B, the variable is y, right? So firstly you have to find whether you can apply this theory or not. So this variable is not included in this function. Y is not included in this function. So what happens? So variable is not included in this total function. So what happens? This is becoming a constant, right? This whole thing is becoming a constant because y is not included in here. So what is the answer? Answer should be the limit of a constant is equal to the constant. In the first rule we have talked about. Limit of a constant is equal to the constant. So answer should be this one. because y is not included in this function. So I think you can answer these things correctly. Ravindo have answered it correctly, and Devagoda also answered it correctly. Okay. Uh, so the answer should be, so here x is included in the function. So you can take this constant outside. So answer should be this one. This two should be taken to outside. Right? So here y is included in this function. So and it is multiplied by a constant which is 2. So you can apply this function. So you have to take the constant outside. Right? So here y is there in the function. So and it is multiplied by a constant. So you can apply this function right away. So what you have to do is you have to take the constant outside. So what is the constant here? Constant is 27. Right? So then let's move on to fourth question. So here what happens is when you adding two functions of when x is the limit of the variable, right? So be careful with this one. So if so this x, here you have x, here also you have x, and here also you have x. So variable of these two functions should be x, right? So if we apply this function, so uh, when we when we want to find the limit of the addition or subtraction of the addition or subtraction of two functions of the limits variable, you can separate those two functions and take this plus and minus um, outside the limit, right? So here what happens is fx is here, gx is here, and limit is distributed here and here, right? So x is taken at the middle. This plus or minus sign is in the middle. It is not, this plus and minus sign is not included in limit, right? Right. So if we need to find the answer for this one, so here you have a function of x. Here also you have a function of x, and you need to find the addition. The you have to find the addition of these two. So in that case, what you can do is you can take this outside thing. this one here, right? Then 9, then you have to take this plus here, right? Plus, right? Then you have to take this 9 next here with the limit, right? So keep in mind you have to take this 9 next with the limit. So after that, so here also you can see the same thing. So here also you can see in this thing, that means in this particular thing also you can see the similar format, right? Here you have a function of x, and here also you have a function of x, right? So the variable of the limit also x. So you can apply this rule to solve this function. So what you can do is you can apply the rule. So here should be equal to so here what happens is you have to take this also. Okay, you have to take this 7 next to the power 2 here, and then you have to take this plus here. That means you have to take this plus here, and you have to take this 5x 5 root x here, right? So here you have to take this 5x 5 root x. Before that you have to put addition. Okay. Not here. Here you have to put the addition. And here you have to use only 5 root x. So what happens is you can take 7x to the power 2 here, plus here, and 5x here. And also you have to take this to this step. Kevin, your question is not clear. Can you say it?
මැඩම් ඔය දාලා තියෙන මේ ඉන්ඩෙක්ස් නම්බර් එක එක්කෙනාට මේ පාටිසිපේට් කරන්න බැල්ලු මේ කියන්නේ මේ මීටින් එකට ඒක නිසා මේ එයා කිව්වා මේ කනෙක්ෂන් අවුල්ලු ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ.
එක්කමක් නැහැ. එයාට මං
ඔව් මේ මේක රෙකෝඩ් එක එතකොට දානවද VL එකට මොකද කරන්නේ?
ඔව් රෙකෝඩින් එක
හරි.
VL එකට දානවා.
හරි
ඒක
ඕකේ මැඩම්.
රෙකෝඩ් කරන්නේ නැත්නම් මට රෙකෝඩ් කරන්න හේතුවක් නැහැ.
හරි.
හරියට.
ඒකයි.
හරි. So here you have to take this part. We have only computed the limit of this part, right? And this is also included in the solution. So you have to take this also to this part. Oh, sorry. Okay. So here what happens is this comes to here, this comes to here, this comes to here. The whole thing is came to be. Okay, proceed to the next step. Okay, so here we have applied the rule, and here we just take the above statements remaining part, right? So likewise, can you find the answer for the second question? Yeah, Hassan has found the answer. So I'll write it. I'll write the answer. Here we have subtraction, and here we have two functions of x, right? X. So here we have the variable x. So let's say instead of x we have y. In that case, same procedure happens. So please don't chat now because I need to know there is a problem. I am I look into Kinchalar TEB TEE 160. I'll come into your problem. Okay, come to your problem after discussing this question. Okay, you have asked a question. I'll address it after uh, answering for this question. So here y is a variable. So this is limits function limits variable is y, and the first function's variable is y, and the second function's variable is also y. So and in between the two functions you have a minus mark for subtraction, right? So we can apply this rule, right? So what is the answer? You have to take this first one here, and then you have to take this minus mark here, and then you have to take this 9y here along with the limit, right? So this is the answer for the second one. Okay. Yeah. Uh, Many of you have found the answer for the second one. Uh, I'm sure this fourth question is also clear. One question has asked. So I'll move. So the question is about the third question, third law. First question. In first question, why we can't put the answer as 2a to the power 2 plus. You are suggesting that you can put 2a to the power 2 plus 6. No, because here we have the here we have a function which is multiplied by here we have a function which is multiplied by a constant. So in that case, if we take if we use we can use this third question right away. But you are saying that you are assuming that we can use this second law also to find the limit. No, because we can't use this, because here only x is there. X to the power 2 is not there, 2x is not there. So if we can use the, you are saying that we can use, if we have x to the power 2 here, the answer should be a to the power 2. It is not correct, because here the variable is x. So I'll explain it. So the thing you are asking is, here x to the power 2. If we have something like this, can we apply this rule? No, because what happens is, here we have third. Okay, I'll come to your Hosan's question later. Okay, I have actually addressed that question when I'm discussing that question. So this is the question you are asking. I'll come to it. And here, so I think all of you have I have this question. So try to find the answer for this one. Limit of x to the power 2 when x approaches a. So I need your answers. If you can't, no, a to the power is not the answer, because I think all of you are seeing that x to the power 2, it is not the answer. Okay, a to the power is not the answer, x to the power is not 2 is not the answer. Okay, a is also not the answer. No. So here 0 is not the answer as well. Yeah, wrong law. That is the question. That is the answer. Also. So here what happens is, thank you for asking questions actually. I really appreciate that asking questions. So here you have x to the power 2, right? And here you have x, right? But in the law you have x here and you have x here. So these two things should be equal. Otherwise you can't use this law. Okay. So here these things are not equal. So you can't apply this law, right? So if we go into next one, so I'll ask another question. So find the answer for B, part B. Find the answer for part B. I need your answers. 2 lim is not correct for the above answer. Yeah, all of the people have addressed answered the question properly. So here you have x to the power 2, here you have x to the power 2, and x to the power 2 approaches to a. So the answer should be also a, right? Correct. Okay. So I think that thing also clear for you. Okay. Then I'll move on to this one. So here what happens is, here y is not included in this function. The Hosan has asked this question. He has asked why limit is not there in this answer. Okay, okay. Uh, so here Hosan has asked why limit is not there. The reason is, here can you find y in this function? No, right? Y is not in this function. So in that case you can imply that this is not a function of y, so this is a constant. So limit of a constant is equal to the constant. That's why this 2x to the power limit is not there in this solution, right? So Hosan, are you clear now? Hosan, please answer. Okay, thank you. So thank you for asking the questions. So I'll move on to the next part. Pereira, I can't understand what is the answer. Can you tell it? 209, the 18TE 0209, 209. Pereira, JNC Pereira. Can you tell your question? Answer of A. Answer of A. Which law? Which law? Part A are there in different laws. So this is the third law, like that. Can you please tell it? Actually, I can't understand your question. And Senarath, this is constant. No, I can't understand what you are saying. Can you say the question? Say, කමන්නේ සිංහලෙන් කියන්න. සිංහලෙන් අහන්නකො මොකක්ද ප්‍රශ්නේ කියලා. Senarath and Pereira. නැත්තම් කියන්නකො පොඩ්ඩක් අන්මියුට් කරලා ඔයාලව පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්නකො මට ඇහෙන්නේ නැහැ දැන්. Senarath and Pereira, please tell your question. Senarath 198. For this one, the constant. උත්තරේ එතකොට constant නේද? Yeah, this is a constant. Since y is not there in this function, this is becoming a constant. So limit of a constant is equal to constant. So the answer is the constant. Yeah, Sandrath, I can understand you. But Pereira 209, can you ask? Pereira පොඩ්ඩක් කියන්න පුළුවන්ද මොකද question එක කියලා? Okay. So let's move on to the next one. So that is multiplication. Right? So what happens when we are multiply two functions? So same thing applies here as in the addition and subtraction. What happens is, so there is a multiplication in between these two, right? So fx is comes to here, this multiplication comes to here, and gx is comes to here along with the limit, right? So can you find the answer for this part A and part B? Sastru Dilshan, can you tell the first one, part D? I'll answer it after discussing this problem. Okay, Sastru, I'll answer that question. Yeah, correct. No. Robert is not. Some problem is there. So can you please stop chatting because I need to answer two questions. So I'll go into those questions and clear those things. Sastru is asking the first one, D. Here. Fourth function එක වරහන් දෙකක් තියෙනවනේ. Sorry. 2x2 a තමයි. Okay. Yeah. So by using the below laws, you can. So by using this function, this law, cfx, if the function is multiplied by a constant, the constant can be taken outside. So here also the function is multiplied by a constant, so you can take 2 outside. Yeah, you can do that. So in that case, the answer for this one, you can take out these two outside, right? Then, so here x is so variable, same variable approaches to a, and you have to find the limit of that particular variable. So in that case, the answer for this one is the approaching variable, right? So the answer is a, and you have to take this 2 as well because it is multiplied by that limit. 2a is the answer, right? 2a is the answer. I think Sasru, you have asked. Sastro, you have asked. I think I have answered your question. Sastro, are you clear now? Then I'll move on to Kevin's question. The fourth function එකේ fourth function පළවෙනි එකේ වරහන් දෙකක් තියෙනවා. පළවෙනි එකේ වරහන් දෙකක් තියෙනවා. ඔව්. වරහන් දෙකක් තියෙනවා. So we are using these brackets to separate the functions. Okay, so to separate this function along by this particular function, we have used this bracket. Okay, so here වරහන් ඒ තරම්ම බලපාන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් සමහර වෙලාවට බලපාන අවස්ථා තියෙනවා. So here there are two brackets. So we have used the bracket only to separate the function, separate the two functions. So to separate this function, we have used, this is fx. We can take this as fx and this as gx. Right? To separate the two functions only, we have used the brackets, these brackets. So Kevin, are you clear now? Kevin, are you clear? Okay, thank you. So thank you for asking the questions. And 2a. 2a, what happens? 2a, what is the answer? By only using the knowledge you have now, you can't find the answer for this question. Okay, you can find the answer for this question after doing this question. After doing this question, this law, after learning this law, you can find the answer for 2a. Okay, so still you know only 4 laws. Now I'm going to describe you the fifth law. Okay, So thank you for asking questions again. So what happens here is fx is it. Fx goes to here and this multiplication goes to, sorry, this multiplication goes to here and this gx goes to here along with the limit, right? So try to find the answers. I think you can answer these things properly. Robot is something you have to find the answer about again. And Hussein has answered the second question well. So I'll move on to this question. So here you can find the multiplication. So you have to take 7x to the power 2 root 5x here. This one is taken here. Then you have to take this multiplication here. And then you have to take this 9x along with the limit. Okay. So here multiplication. So you have to take 9x here, right? Then by using the above law, you can separate these two things as well, right? So how to do that? So here, uh, okay. Actually, I can't remove this bracket. That's why in here, in typing, I can't remove these brackets, these two brackets. That's why I'm keeping this bracket here. Otherwise, I'm removing it. Okay, and you have to use the bracket here because you have to separate the addition from the multiplication. Okay, so here addition comes here. Okay, so what happens is we have taken this 7x to the power 2 here, plus here, and 5 root x here. Okay, we have applied the fourth rule here, right? Addition rule. And then firstly we have applied the fifth rule, then we have applied the fourth rule. Okay, likewise you can simplify it. I think you can simplify this as well, so I'm not going to uh, go further. No, I'll explain that as well. There is a thing I have to tell. So here, this is fx, this is gx. So firstly you have to take this 3x to the power 2 outside, then into 9 root x. Right? Okay. Then by applying this rule, you can go to this step, proceed to this step. Right? Then let's move on to the sixth rule. I think you can do this sixth rule as well. The same thing happens here. Okay. So can you please? I'll explain it. So here, what happens is fx has come into this place along with the limit, and gx has come to this place along with the limit, and this division comes to in between the two limits. That's what has happened, right? So here if we take one is not equal means
Excuse me, madam.
huh?
madam ලිමිට් එක G මාගේ X වලින් වැඩි කරාම බිඳුවට අසමානයි නම් 9 වැඩි කිරීම X අසමානයිනේ.
ඔයා මොන question එක ගැනද කියන්නේ?
question number 1 එකේ.
question law එකේද නැත්නම් මෙන්න මේකේද?
ඕක.
ඔව් ඒකේ මොකද ඔයා කියන්නේ?
එතකොට මිස් මේ අසමාන නම් සමාන වෙන්නේ බිඳුවටනේ.
gx එක අසමානයි බිඳුවට නංද අහන්නේ?
ඔව්. එතකොට ඒක ඇප්ලයි වෙනවනේ මිස් 9x ගෙන් වැඩි කරාම.
පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න. ඔයා කියන්නේ මේ gx limit of gx එක අසමාන වෙන්න ඕන බිඳුවට. ඒක කන්ඩිෂන් එකක් මේ law එකේ. හරි. ඔයා 9x කියන එක බිඳුව.
එකේ මිස් මේ වේරිය මේ කොන්ස්ටන්ට් එකක් නේ ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන අර කලින් සෙකන්ඩ් ලෝ එකේ ගත්තා වගේ.
මොකද්ද?
සෙකන්ඩ් ලෝ එකේ දෙවෙනි එකේදී අපි ගත්තේ කොන්ස්ටන්ට් එකක් විදියට 9x x ට සමාන වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා.
ඔව්.
එතකොට ඒ විදිහට ගත්තාම මිස් ඔතෙන්ට එන්නේ උත්තරේ බිඳුව නේද? limit 7 into power 2 plus 5 square x by 0 නේ එන්නේ අනුත් උත්තරේ.
මෙහෙමයි එතන දැන් ඔයා කියන්නේ x මෙතන මේ 9x කියන්නේ මේ දෙක සමාන නැහැ.
ඔව්.
හරි. මේක දෙක සමාන නැති වුණාට මෙතන x to the power 2 හරි x to the power 2x to the power 2 plus x plus 2 ඒ වගේ ෆන්ක්ෂන් එකක් නෙමෙයිනේ මෙතන තියෙන්නේ.
ඔව්.
මෙතන constant එකකින් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
ඔව්.
එතකොට එතන issue එකක් නැහැ. මට ආයෙ චුට්ට පැහැදිලි කරන්න පුළුවන්ද?
මිස් දැන් මේ 6 වෙනි එකේ අර ලිමිට් එක gx අසමානයි බිඳුව කියලා තියෙනවනේ.
ඔව් limit of gx limit
sorry,
of
limit of
dx
gx
ඔව්
මේ
ඔව්
බිඳුව කියලා තියෙනවා.
ඔව්
එතකොට මෙතන x ඒ පැත්තට නෙමෙයි මේ කියන්නේ x a කියලානේ අරන් තියන්නේ වැලියු එක.
x a කරා යනවා. ඔව්
ඔව්. එතකොට x එකයි 9x එකයි ඒ කියන්නේ අසමානයි කියලා ගත්ත හැකිද උතනදී?
x එකයි 9x of course අසමානයි. ඒ කියන්නේ x and 9x is of course not equal because when we multiply x by 9 only we get 9x.
එතකොට මිස් මේ මේකෙම දෙවෙනි g එකේ ලිමිට් එක x ට අසමානයි කියන්නේ x උයි සමානයි නම් මිස් මේ අසමානයි කියලා කියන්නේ.
එහෙම දෙයක් නෙමෙයි මෙතන කියන්නේ. මම ඒක ආයෙ පැහැදිලි කරන්න.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for helping me. The thing is, here we can apply this thing. Apply this law when limit of gx when x approaches to a is not equal to 0. That means what happens is if this part is not equal to 0 only, we can use this law. So what happens is if we take some 2 divided by 0, can we find the answer? Two divided by 0, can we find the answer? No, 0 is not the answer. 2 is not the answer. Error somewhat. Infinity is also not the answer. This is not exist. Okay. 2 divided by 0 is not exist. 2 divided by 1, what is the answer? 2 divided by 1, what is the answer? Please, yeah, 2. Correct. So 2 divided by 1 is equal to 2. Zero divided by 2. What is the answer? 0 divided by 2. What is the answer? 0. Yeah, 0. Okay. So since 2 divided by 0 not exist, so if we put any value here, let's say instead of 2 we are putting 1000. Instead of 2 we are putting 1000. No. Okay. So instead of 2 we are putting this kind of value. In that case also this kind of value divided by 0 is also not exist, right? Okay, this kind of very large value divided by 0 is also not exist, right? So if the value, if the value, so if we divide some function by 0, the function doesn't exist. That's why we are putting this, we are embedding this condition. So this is a condition. So this is a condition. This is condition. So we have applied a condition to this law. This type of conditions wasn't there in the above laws, right? So we have applied this condition because of this thing. When any value divided by 0, the answer doesn't exist. That's why we have applied this condition. Okay. So I'll move on to this question. So here, when you are finding the answer for this question, firstly you have to find what are the fx and gx. So this is fx, this is gx, right? And in between there is a division mark, so you can apply this rule. And x means x is the limits variable. So in this case only we can apply this rule, right? So if we apply this rule, what happens is you can take this limit so you have to divide this division. Okay, then limit of 9x. So what I have done is I have taken this whole thing here, taken this whole thing here along with the limit, and took this division here, right? The same thing you have to do for this one. Okay, yeah, Hassan, you are correct. This, yeah, you are correct. So the same thing you can apply to this here. Is you can apply the same this rule in the same manner which we have discussed in the last law as well. And the answer is given by Hosen. So you can just refer that answer in the chat and type the answer. Then let's move on to next law. No, Hossan's answer this 9 root x. This should be 9 root x. I'll write the answer for this. Now, sorry. Divide by so this is the answer. Okay. So what happens is take this one here, take this one here, and take this division mark here. Okay. Yeah, I know, Hosan, you don't have root symbol in the chat. So anyway, you have done a nice job in answering the questions. Okay. So this is the answer. Okay. Then the 7th question. Okay. So you can, if you need to find the limit of fx to the power n. So to keep in mind this x. So here x is there, here x is there. So this would be a function of the limits variable, right? Fx to the power n. So in the 7th one, so this function should be a function of the limits variable, right? Which is x. So, and it should be there should be a power. You have to find the fx to the power n. There should be a power to apply this rule. Okay. So in that case, what happens is we have taken this limit inside the brackets, right? We have taken this limit inside the bracket, and n is taken outside the limit. Okay, n is taken outside the limit. So that is what has happened. Then what is the answer for this? So try to answer these two questions. I think you can answer these two questions properly. So answer these questions. Okay, I'll explain one, then you have to proceed with the next one. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to take this limit inside, right? We have taken limit inside and 5 outside. And here, if we take this second one, these two, here you have a constant in front of the function. So you can take it outside and then you have to proceed with this particular law, right? I have taken these two outside based on the on a rule we have discussed earlier, right? Then now you have this format, right? Fx to the power n. There is no constant in front of it, right? In that case, you can take this limit inside, right? So here, what you have to do is this one. So we have taken limit inside and 5 outside, right? So that is the answer. So if you have any question, please ask me right now. Okay. Then I'll move on to 8th one. Okay. 8th law, what happens is you have to find x to the power n, right? So n is a constant and x is the same variable which is shown in the limit, right? Then you can tell the answer is the nth power of the approaching value, which is a nth power of the approaching value. A comes here and n comes here, right? So here, firstly you have to find whether your limits variable is there in the function and it is there is a power, right? In that case only you can apply this rule. So here the answer is a to the power n, right? The power of the approaching value, nth power of the approaching value, a to the power n. Hosan, I'll come into your question after discussing this theory part. Okay. Yeah, a to the power n. Tushani, you have answered it properly. No, the last one is somewhat, there is a mistake, but other things are correct. So here y is there in here and you have to find the power. So the answer is the mth power of a approaching value which is a. Nth power of approaching value which is a. Then here k is there here and you have to find the power, so you can apply the rule, and k is approaching a, so the answer should be mth power of the approaching value which is a to the power m. Right, so here uh, so do we have y inside k? No, right? Y is not there in k, right? So this becomes so this k to the power n becomes a constant, right? Limit of a constant equals to the constant. So the answer is, here we don't use this rule, instead we are using the first rule. Limit of a constant equals to the constant, right? K to the power n, right? Yeah, Kayanta, you have correct answer. Then I'll move Hosan. Hosan, can you explain your question? Hosan?
මිස් අර k එකයි y එකයි equals නැති හින්දා මේ law එකට අදාළ නැහැ නේද? ඒක මේ divide කරද්දී.
මොන question එකද මේකද?
නෑ 8 4 වෙනි එක.
8 4 වෙනි එක. ඔව් ඒක තමයි මම කිව්වේ. මේ law එකට අදාළ නැහැ කියන්නේ. හරි.
මේ law එකට අදාළ නැහැ හරි.
හරි, okay. හරි, thank you. Thank you. Then let's move on to last law. Okay, this is when you have a root of a function in a limit, you have to apply this rule. So what you have to do is you have to take this limit inside the root function, right? You have to take this limit inside the root function. So if you have a function of x which is the variable of the limit, and you have to find the root, nth root of it, what you can do is you can take this limit inside the function, inside the not inside the function, inside the inside the root, right? So in that case the answer for this one is you have to take this limit inside, right? Okay, this is the answer. Likewise here, so x is there in this function, so this is a function of x. X is the limits variable, so you can apply this rule. So what you have to do, you have to take this limit inside the root, right? So you have to take this limit inside the root. So this is the answer, right? Then let's try to solve the questions below. Okay. So to solve these questions, you need to know the above rules, all the rules which we have discussed earlier. Okay. So here we have to apply addition rule, right? So so addition rule, that means so why we are applying addition rule here? Gayantha, Gayantha, what you are asking, I can't remember. I can't understand what you are saying. Gayantha, please tell it. If
මිස්සර ලෝ 9 එකේ
ඉන්නේ
ලිම්
පොඩ්ඩයි ඉන්න ලෝ 9 එකට නේද? ඔව් ලෝ 9 එකේ ඔව් කියන්න.
පොඩි මේ හැබැත්තර තියෙන ලිම් FX විශාල 0 කියලා 0 ඔන්නත
Hurry up. Okay. I'll explain it. This is also a condition, right? So we have applied this condition because if we take a root of any minus value, negative value, it is not a real value. It is a complex number. That means it is not a real value. That means you can't display it in the this is imaginary value, not a real value. This is a imaginary value, right? Not a real value. That's why we have applied. So we are writing all these rules for the real values. Okay. So real values are the values that can be displayed on a number line. Okay. If we can display any number on a number line, we are calling it as a real value. Okay. So we are writing all these functions for the real values. We can't tackle imaginary values computations by these rules. Okay. Imaginary number computations are not applied in these laws, but real values are can be applied in these rules, right? That's why we have used a condition. So are you clear, Gayantha? Gayantha, තේරුණාද? මේ නෙගටිව් වැලියු එකක් රූට් එක ඇතුලේ තියෙනකොට එතනින් ආන්සර් එක වෙන්නේ ඉමේජිනරි වැලියු එකක්. ඉමේජිනරි වැලියු එකක් තියෙනවා නම් අපිට මේ එක ලෝ එකක්වත් ඇප්ලයි කරන්න බෑ. Okay, thank you. Then අධික නමවෙනි. So actually what happens in 9 is you can take this if you have a function with a variable, that means with the limits variable. So this function should be included this particular x. This x should be there in this function. And if you want to find the root of that particular function, you have to apply this root, right? So in here, what happens is you can take this limit inside the root. In this rule, what we are basically doing is we are taking the solution by taking this limit inside the root, inside the root sign. Okay, I think the code is clear. So if you don't clear, please go through the video I'm going to share. Okay, and so here we have to apply addition rule. So why we are applying addition rule? So here we are saying this is fx. And we can say this is a gx. So how can you say this is gx? It is because we can write 1 as 1 or anything or any number as no 1 as x to the power 0, right? 1 is equal to x to the power 0, right? So any value 0th value, that means 1000, sorry, so let's say we have a value like this. It is really really large. So in that case, the 0th, if we take the power of 0, it is equal to 1. Okay, any value 0th power is equal to 1. Okay, so uh, we can display this one as gx, right? X to the power 0. So here we can apply the addition rule. So I'll explain these things in the next lesson, in the next lecture, because we don't have enough time. So if you have any question, you can ask it now. I think you don't have any question, that's why it is not mentioning in the chat. So I'll stop the lecture today. I'll discuss how to solve these complex questions in the next lecture. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for joining the lecture. Thank you very much.